I still don't know what we're gonna do with the intro though. That's probably the only thing I have not solved.
Use my
But
Jeff Goldblum pose.
I mean, yeah, I've been thinking of using that as the thumbnail. Anyway, what's up, guys? Welcome back. This is the 8th episode of the Bongshot podcast. As you can see, we have like a new layout. We have a guest, a dragon, who made the layout for us. What's up, dragon?
What up,
And of course,
Aman
we
and
have
Udit?
yeah. If the podcast is lagging today, I think it's because of my PC. There's something wrong. I have like 100% of CPU usage for some reason.
I guess.
So yeah. Apart from that, what's
But
up
we're
with the...
looking good today.
Yeah.
This layout is brilliant.
Yeah. It's Discord is actually the only thing lagging, like it's stuttering a bit, but fine.
Yeah.
What's up,
I
guys?
don't know how that happened.
Yeah,
Get a better PC, Aman.
eventually.
He
So,
has a good PC.
I have a good PC,
He
that's
does.
the thing. I have a good CPU as well. It's like i7-770K or 670K or whatever.
It's 6.7, not 7.7.
Yeah,
Last time you
6700K.
told me that one.
Yeah, 6700K. But it's still good. It's not a bad CPU by any means. It should be able
I
to
agree.
run Discord.
But still,
Yeah.
We
What's
should
up,
run
guys?
Discord, yes.
nice.
What's up? This is a slow week. We don't have any large controversy. We are like the same. I'll just go through the topics before we just slump into it because this is again a slow week. Probably the most interesting topic that we have to discuss today is that Avengers is a massive fail. I think that's fair to say because they have like less than 1,000 people playing it on Steam. Last we saw. Cyberpunk crunch stuff is back, of course, that controversy. People are still defending that. Gambling and gaming in India, something like a small topic that I wanted to touch on because we did kind of touch on it last week, but it's just like something to skim over maybe because again, nothing else to talk about this week. And what games are we playing this week right now, whatever. So yeah, what's up? For those of you who are appreciating our new layout, you have Dragon to thank. He's the mastermind behind all of this. Ingenious everything, like the logo, the entire layout, the background,
Thank
flashy
you.
background. Very cool stuff. Thank you, Dragon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I would like to have you people to thank as well because without you people, concepts are not there, right? So everybody has their own contributions on this one. So
Dragon is a pansy. He doesn't know how to take compliments. It's fine.
Yeah,
It's
also, why is our episode still not corrected?
Oh yeah, it
Yes.
is. It is not episode 69. How do I correct that?
Very nice, Aman.
It's episode 8. It will cut off here and no one will know. Like that took like enough time. Anyway, what's up? Like I think we can start off with Avengers. Yeah. Who wants to talk about it?
Not me. I told you, like, I think for the past 2 years, since the day it has been announced, I think, Aman, you have been known by passionate disinterest in this game. Remember when the most, I think the biggest discussion around this game was the Spider-Man exclusivity.
Yeah.
I think even that doesn't matter right now.
Yeah, why is there no Spider-Man? And like no one cares anymore at this point. It's
No
like,
one cares anymore. I think even Spider-Man out there is just waiting, like, please let this game die by the time so that
Yeah.
I don't have to be a part of this embarrassment. Please be hyped for the
Right.
Insomniac Spider-Man game instead.
yeah. Please be hyped for don't not watch Spider-Man 3 because of whatever this is. Yeah. This seems like counter marketing. If you're in this game, it's probably bad for you at this point.
I mean, this is like
yeah, actually.
Yeah.
it even released in a day where people were kind of saturated with Avengers, right? Probably it should have released somewhere between Infinity War and Endgame. Was my opinion. They missed that release window, and by the time it was Endgame, Yeah, by the time it was endgame, firstly, it was like already people were starting to get. They felt like they got the full course meal, right? The complete nutrition for the day, they were done. And then this always seemed. And then again, we already discussed in the previous podcast, is like it just seems such a by the numbers when compared to something like Genshin Impact, right? It
Oh yeah,
seems
yeah.
such a by the numbers live service game, right? Where the level design is bland, but you have so many interesting characters, but you have just one level where all of them are playing together. Nothing really grabs you to explore different characters, and it just feels so it's you're like your typical business licensed game, which is such an unfortunate thing when you have the pedigree of the hottest property in the
Right.
current gen.
But you didn't play the
Yeah.
beta from what I remember, right?
No, I didn't. I told you I had no interest in.
Dragon played the beta.
Yeah, I did. I did. Yeah,
What
exactly.
is
Though,
your thought now about this entire game?
so the only thing which didn't like about the whole thing is they took their own time to develop the game, right? But still, when we tried out the beta, it had their own share of bugs, which we thought would be fixed on the release. But it's still there. And for a game like Avengers, where people are very much aware of the characters and all, like they are literally growing up with those characters, right? So
Firstly, the thing was the beta release very close to the release, right?
yeah, both
That is
the
a huge
open
mistake.
beta and the closed beta is very close.
Yeah, I mean that is barely
I
qualifying
mean,
as beta. That's pretty much like an early release of sorts
I mean,
because you need
Yeah,
to.
I want to
No.
say something. There are two kinds of betas, right? You can see betas like something like I'm playing this time, right? Baldur's Gate, which is something like early access, or where a beta comes, or even you take something like World of Warcraft, right? There's always a beta before the official release. There's PTR, there's testing, there's a lot of things, and it starts somewhere around almost 8 months before the game comes out, right?
Right.
The uh, initial phase of the beta and stuff like that. And then there's the second kind of beta, which is more like a marketing trick,
Right.
which is something I think it's very obvious that Avengers was. Avengers beta keys were given out by the shell. Like a lot of people played. I remember Avengers. I don't exactly remember the number, but I remember Crystal Dynamics saying there's a million people playing the beta and whatnot. And they're giving out keys left, right, and center through Intel and other programs, right? And they were very using it
right.
like as a marketing way to grab attention and make people see that this game exists. So I think it's fair to say like because the beta came out 1 month before the game release, it's fair to say this was more like a marketing trick rather than an actual testing phase of beta. Because whatever, yeah, like Dragon said, whatever bugs we saw in the beta, all of them exist in the main game. So
Can't fix
Yeah,
it if you're releasing it like 2 weeks before the actual game.
yeah.
You can't
it
fix it from
actually makes no
nothing.
sense.
Yeah.
And that too, like with the game having all the Marvel characters in it, almost all the Marvel characters we can say. So the game, the potential of this game was very high, and the amount of bugs literally ruined the experience with all the players literally expected to have.
Mhm.
So that is one reason why it dropped off, I think. And another is the multi battle pass system which they made.
Multi-battle pass
Can you tell
system,
me
yeah,
more
yeah.
about this multi battle pass? I remember we glossed over this before, but I don't exactly have the
So
detailed.
basically, what happened is I can tell you, every character has their own battle pass.
Oh dear.
So,
Okay.
so you can
Okay.
every character battle pass can cost you about $10 after you've paid like
Oh
the full price
right.
for the game. So yeah,
Shit.
that's the battle pass
There's no
system.
free version.
I think there's a free version. Yeah, there is a free version. There is a free version of the battle pass, but the good stuff is obviously in the paid version, as usual.
And that's
Because-
individual.
yeah, that's individual.
So
Like so,
I do support. Yeah, I'm gonna continue.
no, so even future characters like say Clint Barton and Spider-Man will have their own battle pass. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Right. So though I support the notion of the whole battle pass thing because that actually supports the studio on a like positive side, but just like doing this kind of stuff where the players have to spend a lot behind one game literally makes no sense. And the game itself is not free to play as well, right? People are
Right.
buying that with a huge amount. I think Avengers launched at a 4K amount, right, Aman?
Yeah, in India it's like about 4K, I think. It's about 3,
That
4,
is
3.3
right.
or 4K. I'm just looking at something
Yeah.
because I wanted to discuss. Where is Crystal
Good.
Dynamics located, the main studio?
Is it again California? Because I don't know.
It's based in San Francisco Bay Area. Understood.
Yeah.
Yeah. No wonder. Yeah. But yeah, go on.
Okay, I got where I get where you were going.
I mean, they
Oh, yeah.
definitely need the money if they're in San Francisco Bay.
But come on, man. They're not a struggling studio.
Yeah.
So things when you compare that with something like Genshin Impact, right? Which just last week we were talking about, which is free to play.
Free to play.
And in that conversion, we were like, I don't mind shelling out $30 for this, because when you create a goodwill in a live service game, right?
Yeah,
It is
people-
not
people-
monetization that should be your biggest priority. It should be retention,
Yeah.
right? It should be holding player interest and holding player interest through goodwill, which I think was what Genshin Impact did so well, right?
Mhm.
Where when you retain players through your goodwill, people will feel like maybe, hey man, I don't mind giving $30 to this game. I don't mind doing the battle pass. I don't mind, shelling out some cash for it, right?
Mhm.
And I believe that is a rock solid foundation to have your game as a live service. The Avengers seems like a game that has gone with the complete opposite approach.
Mhm.
And I think the reason they thought they could get away with it was because of the
Avengers.
property.
Because of
Yes.
Avengers. They thought
Avengers,
enough
exactly.
kids would come in and just buy whatever, right?
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So I just want to compare like 3 games particularly. One is Genshin Impact, one is Marvel's Avengers, one is Genshin Impact, and then something like Cyberpunk. Like again, for the fanboys, I'm actually speaking for Cyberpunk here, right?
Cyberpunk is a fully single player experience. Though,
Full
right,
single
first.
player. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a fully single player experience that took what $140 million to make, and they're selling it at $60 and nothing more. Their multiplayer is coming some 2 years later. They're not afraid to take the time to make sure that their multiplayer is coming in time, right? And because they're in something like Poland, by the way, has good worker laws, but even with their good worker laws, the overall maintenance of the studio is much lower than something like San Francisco Bay Area, because obviously, right, anyone I think who has visited or anything knows about economics can tell you, like, getting a basic house over in San Francisco Bay Area means you have to shell out quite a lot of money compared to wherever in Poland, I imagine, right? And because that simple cost is there, the whoever developer you're hiring over in San Francisco Bay Area, their cost will also be higher. The minimum cost will also be higher in that respect, right? And that is something that I think studios these days are not understanding. Again, something going back to how India will probably have a lot of advantage there, because cost of living is much less in the country.
Also,
Right.
no labor laws, so we can be exploited. Yeah.
No labor laws, but that's something else. I'm saying even with labor laws in Poland, their cost of making the game is much lower, and to the point that they can actually put out. And it's not just that, they're making a game over a long period of time. This is 7 years. They're spending the good amount of time making that game, making sure that it's polished. Whatever we say about CD Projekt Red, whatever we will say even down the podcast, we have to say that they at least care about the game, right? They care about polishing the game before releasing it. They do
Right.
that, and because of that, they're going to get the sales. I mean, everyone knows they're going to get the sales. And something I want to talk about, how Marvel's Avengers is doing marketing around the game, and how Cyberpunk is doing marketing around the game. I just thought I saw some of it like over the last 2-3 weeks, and I could just understand how it's. I mean, Cyberpunk is still making money, but they're not devaluing their game in the way in which, say, Marvel's Avengers is doing. For a lot of people who know about Marvel's Avengers, you will know that there's Intel pack in the game. There is Nvidia pack in the game. There is something Monster pack, I think, as well, which is very weird. Like if you like buy the monsters, you can somehow get. Or I don't know. There's a lot of packs. There's a PlayStation pack, there's this pack, there's that pack, right? every pack there, and this selling you things inside the game which take up development time that are not necessary, I think, right? Very importantly, it doesn't add value. It doesn't add value to the players. It add values to the corporations involved and who are paying them, right? Whereas in this case, we see Cyberpunk, who is making a mice with razor, who's making a chair with secret lab, who's making so many auxiliary things that are outside the game but complementing the game, right? And they're also selling, and I'm sure CDPR is getting some royalty and some cash out of that as well. But I think it has a more valuable impact to, like, a Cyberpunk mouse is probably not going to change the game for you, right? So
Exactly.
so if I buy a Cyberpunk mouse and say Dragon doesn't have one, right, our experiences doesn't change, but I get a cool swag that I can still show off. Whereas that's not the case for something like Marvel's Avengers, where if I buy a single pack and Dragon doesn't have that pack, I can show it off inside the game, and that pack might also have exclusive things attached to it, which is a very interesting way of I think how both games are approaching. And then you see something like
Okay.
Genshin. Yeah.
That goes to show you. Okay, sorry for interrupting.
Yeah.
But that goes to show you where their development interest was, right? They were always about leveraging profits. I don't know if that's because this is not something new that Crystal Dynamics has done. Even with Tomb Raider, they had exclusive maps and stuff like that where they lock things down. But this is an asinine on another level,
Yeah.
in my opinion, where even the things that you have, what you're saying about these monster and stuff like that. I mean, it's clear that it's not something that's inherently valuable to the player, that looks cool to the player. I'm not interested in wearing a monster hoodie or something like that, right? But obviously, you got money from monster company, so you're putting it in. You're
Yeah.
doing everything you can so that you can get a lot of money out of it, rather than working on certain features that actually players will want to invest in, and that just infuriates me.
And I'm just also just give me a second. I just want to say
Yeah,
this. For Marvel's Avengers, they're just trying to make money left, right, and center. They have a $60 game. They have the $10 battle pass. Then they're also giving you exclusive item where they're obviously taking money from the corporations, right? Like Intel and whatnot. They're taking some chunk of money from there to meet development costs. And this is such a weird way to earn money. Why not just build something for the, because who are you exactly selling to is my question, right? Are you selling to the corporations? Are you selling to the consumers? You have no fixed target audience, clearly, right? When you're just dividing everywhere, and that shows for a weak product for the consumer overall, right?
Boy, you did Avengers wrong. How do you mess up? How how do you do this? Right? The biggest grossing movie in history, right? You're sitting on a gold mine. All it would have taken was just work on a good experience, right? Just
exactly.
even with just one character, Spider-Man, right? All it took was Insomniac to just play to the strengths of the character and give a good Spider-Man experience, and that's the highest selling IP for PlayStation,
Yeah.
right? That's all it takes. This
It's
is
But
so
then
ridiculous.
again,
weird.
the point
Yeah.
that you mentioned, Udit, the game should have launched somewhere in the window which is between Endgame and Infinity War, right?
Yes.
So if that was the case, people would have actually played the other characters more than few of the characters which are being played. Because the way this game is made, if you're going for matchmaking and all, they tell you to actually pick your own heroes. And accordingly, they used to mix and match and create a team. Unless you are a four people party. Okay. So if you are picking Iron Man and the other people who are also playing the game picks Iron Man, or in some cases in the beta we saw there was a mission where we have to either choose Hulk or Kamala Khan. So people always chose Kamala Khan because she had the advantage on the whole scenario. And Hulk is a bit tougher on the mission if you're like picking Hulk. So in that scenario, you are not balancing the matchmaking anywhere, right? So the amount of time which it will take just to pick you a match is high. So that again is
Right.
one of the factors which leads to the
Drop off.
multiplayer experience, multiplayer drop off thing.
Right.
In
How many characters
comparison,
are playable right now?
we have like 6 I think. We have the
That's
main four. We have the Captain America, Iron Man. We have Black Widow. We have Thor, and then we have one more. I think. Who is that? I know
Kamala?
Hulk, Kamala Khan, Thor, Iron Man, and Black Widow. I think these are the 5 characters we have
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
No more than that. And they're gonna slowly
And
add more.
right, and the last time I saw, Captain America was the most played hero, and after that came Iron Man. So that actually speaks for what people will choose. And if you have seen Endgame, you can figure out why.
Right. I mean,
Of
you would
course.
have wanted to play characters from the movies, right? Like
Yeah.
that got popular. People would have wanted to play Black Panther. People would have wanted to play as even Ant-Man, right? So
Yeah,
But I
Ant-Man,
want
the
to
unsaid hero of Endgame.
yeah.
I want to say yeah, remember there was memes of how Ant-Man would defeat Thanos. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember that. Like there was a particular meme about him getting small, getting inside the
Yeah,
black hole of Thanos.
Yeah.
But I want to
That
say
was there.
yeah, I want to say just me and Dragon are playing a lot of Genshin Impact. I think we have both of us at least to individually have played over 30 hours by this point, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's fair to say. And it's such a simple game, but there's just so much longevity to it. I have already played more Genshin Impact than I have ever wanted to play Marvel's Avengers, because even though Marvel's Avengers is such a it looks like it's such a complex game from the overhead. Like you have skill trees, you have the items, you have different heroes in a lot of sense, and the co-op is built around 4 people, stuff like that. But everyone's combos are more or less the same, stuff like that. But then you see something like this, which is Genshin Impact, where you have just 4 heroes. Sorry, you can have any 4 heroes in your party, and then you switch between them. And if someone else comes into your party, you can have 2 heroes, and the other person has 2 heroes, stuff like that. It's such a very simple mechanics to build such a wonderful game, and you wonder, how simple decisions in the games. I actually disagree. I don't think this game, even if it came out during the 2 Avengers Endgame movies, would have been successful with the current formula the game is following, because like we discussed long back, I don't know which podcast, but I think it was episode 5 or something, we talked about how the itemization and the loot system is so bad. You can't see your loot in Genshin Impact either, right? You can see the weapons, you can't see the artifacts that you have, right? But they still
Right.
somehow feel more valuable than whatever you're wearing in Marvel's Avengers.
I didn't say that was the defining reason. I'd say it was one of the major reasons that affected it. But I do agree that, again, Genshin Impact has a lot of characters that you can get, right?
Yeah.
The thing, and you have to choose 4.
Yeah.
Here, you're starting with 6, and they're not exactly the most exciting characters in the Marvel roster. And if you know the Marvel roster, it's filled with some really quirky characters.
Mhm.
And I want to know how much of licensing issues also play a part, right? Because if you've been, I've worked on a company before where we had made certain licensed games, right? And you can't just immediately put a character, right? You have to get that approved by the original person who holds the license, right? Can he do a certain move? Can he behave? And Captain America can't say certain dialogues. Captain America has to have this move. Captain America has to have that. So there's another layer of conversation added to that, which again slows down the process of adding characters too.
I want to say something here. I think that's all management stuff. That's not something that developers have to ever worry
Oh,
about, right?
definitely. Yeah. But that adds to your pipeline. Yeah.
Of course, sure. I understand that might add to your pipeline, but do you see where the effort went, right? You see something like Genshin Impact characters, which have like a very simple talent tree, a very simple constellation, which is an upgrade path. Basically, get the character again and you can upgrade it once. Stuff like that.
Right.
Very simple loot system, very simple artifact system, but the overall gameplay experience, and again, they also don't have very complex movesets either. They have like a single heavy attack and like single light attack combo, and they have like a ability and like an ultimate, right? It's not very complex things you're doing. You just make the complexity comes in how you combo each character's elements and stuff like that. They borrowed a lot from games that are already existing. Whereas when you see Marvel's Avengers, it feels like a hodgepodge of different things that they tried to attempt and nothing kind of went through. Like not the RPG elements for sure, because I saw the skill tree. It's bad. There's barely any like thing interesting. You don't like the most interesting stuff that you can do with Iron Man regarding say the Hulk suit coming in, like Hulk smashing suit, that never just overall changes, right, with how the abilities are. But you can see that there's a lot of effort went into the 3 ability trees for each character, stuff like that. It's just very weird. I think it's all a lot of bad game design decisions. It's very bad design decisions on the basic paperwork. Like when they went to the drawing board to make the game initially, I think they had a lot of decisions that were not sticking. I'll give it to that. Marvel's Avengers, if they built it like a single player game, it would probably be much better. Single player co-op's large experience would probably be much better than whatever this is, because the story was pretty interesting. The problem is that you didn't you only played the story for a little bit and then you had to go grind repetitive like stages and stuff like that. If this was like a single player core experience or like even a co-op experience, where you just play co-op and just like no large loot system, just a simple co-op game, $60, just give me 20 hours solid gameplay, I think it would have sold more people would have been playing it, more people would experiment with the different characters and so on.
One thing I have to add over here, like when you're saying people would have been playing this more, I think this game was more targeted towards the audience of the MCU, like the movies only, not the comic. Because if it was comics and all, they would have understood the roster immediately. Like you actually don't put in Iron Man and the other heroes in the games first, because Iron Man become a top tier hero after the movies came in. Before they're like in the comics, Iron Man is not Iron Man is not a top tier character. And like
I mean, you can just do so many things.
So great point there, Dragon. So the thing is, they're not the top tier characters, and he became top tier because of the actor that played them, right? Robert Downey Jr. and even I forgot the name of this guy, Chris Evans, right? The characters, they kind of merged the actor's personality with the characters, and that made fair. But if anybody is a comic fan, right, they know, like, while they are still main characters, they're not the most popular characters in the Avengers, right? There's so many other quirky characters. Marvel is the reason Marvel's strength was so strong was because of the quirkiness of all the other characters that surrounded them. And one of the biggest differences was that you wouldn't have the characters. Obviously, makes sense that it's not Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. It's not Chris Evans as Captain America. It's completely different. And obviously, it shows, right, that without Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man is not as appealing as a character as you think it to be, right? Yeah.
You need Robert Downey Jr.'s personality to match Tony Stark's one.
Yeah, you did not need his face. You just needed his way of talking, which is also kind of missing there. Like, you know how in Iron Man 1 he comes up and is like just this cocky kind of asshole kind of personality, but you still like him, right? That you never see.
In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? They were not afraid of letting the actors bleed the personality into the characters, and that created a good synthesis of what they wanted to go. That's missing in this.
Right.
Yeah. I think we talked about this more than we thought we would. But yeah.
At the end of the day, the whole game just turned out to be one more game like...
I think it's just shovelware. Yeah, it's not as bad as BioWare's Anthem. BioWare's Anthem was superbly bad. I played it day one. I played it for quite some time. Again, just to make you guys understand, BioWare's Anthem is nowhere near the radar and it's still running. And they're still developing it. Redeveloping it, my bad. Uh,
Yeah.
so I don't think this is that bad, but yeah, it's almost there. It's like there's a lot of junk that's in the game that was completely unnecessary. The problem with Anthem was that it was just bad coding and a lot of other things that was bad. At least what I can say about Marvel's Avengers was that at least it has a good story. Anthem did not
Yeah.
even have that.
Agreed. Agreed. Agreed.
Like even if you pay an amount and if you have say a good PC, you can play Marvel's Avengers single player and still be like, okay, it might not be the best. It might not even be like 6 out of 10, but at least okay, I had something. Anthem, you couldn't say the same thing. So yeah, good on you, Crystal
Wow.
Dynamics. You are not as bad as Anthem.
Wow, we just continue to lower the bar. That's what the gaming industry is all about.
Yeah, talking
Job,
about
you didn't as bad as that other company that fucked up.
yeah, talking about lowering the bar. This is a very nice way to go into
Reason
our second topic, which is
I'm
Cyberpunk.
glad you took that, Wally.
This is yeah. People are definitely trying to lower the bar in this topic. Yeah. I don't want to spend too much again. I said this about the last topic, but we spent 30 minutes. But I don't want to spend too much time again. I just ask a very simple question to Dragon. Dragon, you're a developer. And then I'll ask the same question to Udit. If say if you're earning say something about 70K a month at a job, and people ask your boss asks you to work an extra day. An extra day doesn't mean just 9 to 5, by the way. An extra day means 9 to 9, right? That's what crunch means. I think people don't understand that. They think, oh, it's by evening they're free again. And they tell you, okay, I'll pay you 10K extra. Will you do it for the next 4 months?
Do I have an option?
No. But I will write, as your boss, I will write an email to you saying that asking your spouse and partner to be like, please understand, this is an amazing thing we're building. You don't have an option. You kind of have to say yes. Would you be happy with it? Is my question.
Well, hell no. Because I've gone through that. Obviously, I didn't get the mail, but this has been a very common thing that we've been experiencing where, Friday night, everybody else is chilling, but we are at 4 a.m., like trying to get some shit together. Like there's 3, 4 of us in this empty, like, those cubicles that you're so sick of seeing, right? And you're just sleep deprived. Right? You're trying to get things work. You don't know. I think you've gone past your productivity levels. I don't think people understand, right? You crunching an extra hour does not mean you're at your productive best. You're like off. You're on fumes, right? You can't get the best solutions. Your mind is exhausted, and you just want to be done with certain things, right? If somebody gave me the option, I'm like, no, I'm sleeping the next day. I just don't.
Yeah.
Please don't text me, right? That's gonna be my thing, right? Don't talk to me. Hell, I'm gonna take that. I don't want to talk to my spouse or anything. I just want to sleep in a in a bunker somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think this is
But
something basic. Yeah, go on, Dragon. You are the developer.
but
You
I
speak
think
first.
not from a developer's perspective, Aman, but rather from a person who manages a startup. I could say something over here. This basic problem came from the fact that the people who are working, if like, what do we do? Like, when we work, we try to give our best and accordingly sort out the problems. If somebody is giving their best, then from a managerial level, we could see that and understand that, yeah, this guy has been trying his level best. So there's no point asking more from this guy in this scenario. But when there's a team, it's very hard to understand if somebody is actually not working deliberately. Like, single guy, like if it's a team of 4 people, 3 of them might be working. The fourth guy, though he has potential, might be slacking off just because he can. So that's the thing when this kind of problems actually arise.
I kind of
So
disagree. I have worked in large corporation, and I have worked in startups as well. I mean, I understand the problem with startups when that happens, but I don't think it's the same thing with large corporations, because for every fourth guy you also are supposed to have a manager. That's why you have a manager for a set team in corporations, so that the manager is making sure that the fourth guy is not being that way, right? That's kind of the only point of a manager, is to make sure that your lowest effective worker is doing his best, right? And there will always be a lowest effective worker. There's always be a fourth
It's
guy.
a given that not everybody will be on the equal level of
Yes.
commitment to the product. But again, if you think I don't think if we are to take a company as highly with polished products like, no pun intended, like CDPR, you don't think that even on an average, people are quite productive in their jobs, because that shows in their products, right? Even even the least productive person would be doing something over there, considering the high standards they have for quality, right?
Right,
So
right, right.
even I'm with Aman on this. Like, I don't quite agree
Yeah,
with.
See,
but
this.
the thing which happened, Aman, just a sec, yeah.
Yeah.
The thing which happened in this situation, why the whole thing came on, this is, I think, because of the lockdown situation which happened, rather than like people have been working from home, right? Like
Yeah, yeah, continue,
it's
continue.
not exactly the ideal office scenario where everybody's sitting in one space and discussing the ideas, and the productivity time is less,
Yeah,
like
agree,
the amount of
right.
time to come up with that idea. So in this case, I understand why CDPR actually went into that stage to, like, they had their best intentions. Like previously they did mail, like put out a public statement that they won't be pressurizing the devs and all
This was
for
last year. Yeah.
extra work. Yeah, last year, yeah. But that led to one of the delays, right, for
As a-
the release.
I would like to interrupt here. Firstly, great point, Dragon. We covered this in the last podcast that obviously the 2020 is a weird year, which messes up the pipeline. But one thing, this game has been in development for 7 years, and it's not the first delay. And I do understand that, yes, that this makes it hard, but I also do understand that the position that CDP are in is kind of their own fault, right? Because it's a bold statement to say that we're not gonna have a crunch, so you kind of put it upon yourself in a way. Obviously, if there was any law attorney over there with them, that statement, that guy would tell him to immediately shut the fuck up, right? Right? Do not make
I
statements,
agree. I
right?
agree.
Do not make statements like this, because it's gonna come bite you back in the ass. History has not been kind to such a thing, right?
but
Absolutely.
that again, then again, CDPR has done a lot of has said a lot of incredible statements that they have pulled through. Yeah, just
Yeah.
Noting that, which they have
Again,
got applauded for.
I'm not CDPR as a bad person here
Of course.
completely. I'm just saying that it's a dicey situation, and putting CDPR off the hook like the way most people are doing is a very strange concept to me.
Yeah, I think my biggest problem, again, this is something I said last time, I'm saying it again this time, is people justifying crunch. Doesn't matter where crunch is happening. Doesn't matter if it's happening in Naughty Dog. It doesn't matter if it's happening in a studio that makes a bad game. Doesn't matter if it's happening at a studio that makes a good game. Crunch is bad for the people who are actually crunching. And there was a recent rumors spreading around. I think Games Radar said it. There was an article, and like they did a podcast where they said it, like, some of the devs asked for an overtime. Again, that's where my question came into the beginning. Like, no one will ask for an overtime. Go forget game developers. Go see the next 10 workers. You guys are probably, whoever is listening to us knows people who work in whatever office, wherever, right? Everyone knows someone who's working somewhere. Take 10 people off of your head. Ask them, will you actively ask for an overtime, or will you ask okay, again, the question is, will you ask for an overtime so that you get paid, so that you can get minimum wage, or would you ask better minimum wage? I think it's fair to say which people will go for. people would want a just basic minimum wage rather than an overtime to meet their basic standards of living or whatever their standards of living are, right? You were this idea that people ask for an overtime so that they can get extra paid is very much exception, guys. This is not school. We don't have, like, everyone doesn't have like the energy to just that email that Jason Schreier shared an email which said, like, in July, by the way, this is the mandatory crunch got announced last month, I think.
Yeah.
This email was in July where he Adam, I think is the guy's name. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Adam, the studio head at CDPR, sent an email to all the devs saying, I know you guys are running on fumes. That's a particular statement to make. Running on fumes is not something you tell people who's... If anyone who has worked here can tell you, you will not tell the average colleague that he is running on fumes if he's working basic 9 to 5, right? Right. And if he's getting paid a basic wage, which I'm guessing because Poland has good labor laws, they're getting paid a decent wage. So how they will not run on fumes simply because of stress. They'll run on fumes because they're actually working overtime. And second, the second part of that email stated particularly, which was addressed to the partners of these devs, saying, hey, I know your partner isn't at home working and helping around the house. This is the last leg of the crunch, whatnot. And this was in July, before mandatory crunch. Again, before mandatory crunch. And by the way, for people not understanding...
Wait, was this email addressed to the developer or the developer's significant other?
No, this was addressed to the developers.
Okay.
This was addressed
That would
to
have
the
been
developers.
weird.
No, this was addressed to the developers, and there was like a single line addressing to the partners of the developers. Who, like, and I can understand the sentiment. Like, yeah, I can understand where the studio is coming from. But like I said in some of my Facebook status updates and everything, the company will have its own interest. Just like a human being will have its own interest. The human being has his own interest of wanting free time for himself. If given the chances of choosing between overtime and having some part of your life, I think people will choose some part of your life. Yes, you will choose overtime for a month or 2 or 3, 6 maybe. But again, according to Jason Schreier, this has been happening since almost early this year. And July is, again, I understand COVID, all of that. Again, I don't want to argue on this. Yeah, the studio is not evil. CDPR is trying to do everything they can to be the nice guys here as a studio. Obviously, they wouldn't have put out a statement they did last year, which is they wanted to avoid crunch, if they didn't mean it well, right? Obviously, the managers and everyone, and there was a lot of hyperbole going on, saying that, oh, CDPR managers are not cigar smoking capitalists waiting to exploit the worker. No one's saying that. No one's saying
Not
that to
even
begin with.
most company people are not like that.
No one's saying that. Everyone's human. This is not Gotham where the penguin is sitting there and exploiting, and there's a whip and like, no. We're just saying, like, come on, guys, understand this. We know there's crunch. We know that every industry has crunch. Doesn't mean that because the bar is low everywhere else, we make sure that the bar is low here as well. By the way, the bar in game development is much lower than the average development work, coding work in the world, by the way, for people who do not know.
And dude, I remember it was the same people when it's funny how CDPR gets away, because when the same news came about Naughty Dog was by the same people, rightfully completely flogged, right?
Mm-hmm.
They went through a walk of shame of sorts, right? And they did deserve that proper criticism for the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, you can't pick and choose your who you want to defend when it comes to a policy. If it's crunch, it is, you will have to take a stand universally, right? On that topic. And also another thing was, like, people are saying, oh, but they're being compensated for it by 10% profit.
That was happening since 2016, by the way. Yeah, they're getting compensated for the overtime, and that is also because of Polish laws. If there were no laws, maybe you would see what is happening with Blizzard and Activision right now, where Activision has just closed down. By the way, this is just a small segue, but Activision closed down their French studio. And French studio, they had active, very France. For those who do in India, they have amazing worker laws. Okay.
Yeah.
I know in India
That's why
people like to say.
like Michel Ancel in France.
Yeah, I know in India people like to say, "Arey, we are the working 18 hours a day. Why can't they work?" Like, no, guys.
They have their shit sorted,
They have
guys.
the shit.
If India was in India, I'm just saying it would have been different.
I mean, I don't understand. You don't want France to be like us. You want us to be like France. Don't drag them here. We are at a bad position. Just say at every metric.
Yeah.
Especially in 2020 at every metric, right? France is at a better position than in India is ever.
We are
Like
living
in
a
the
cyberpunk
interview.
world. We are living cyberpunk in real life.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So-
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's about it. Like, yeah, again, don't want to discuss on this topic, but crunch bad, Cyberpunk crunch still going on. Just new information. No one actually asked for overtime, as Sky reported in his Twitter. He kind of tweeted that out. Look, I never heard of anyone asking for crunch, and then
I'm just saying,
he went back
Yeah.
again and asked the developers, "Did you guys ask for crunch?" The developers basically said, "No, bro." Obviously. Yeah, I
just
mean,
any of those things. Sorry for
Yeah.
interrupting again. Go ahead.
no, I mean just for anyone who
Yeah.
wanted to know, like if the developers themselves asked for crunch, just ask yourself, right? Will you work some 5 hours a day more, and plus 1 day extra, plus 5 hours a day on that day as well, just for like a
Right.
15% increment on your monthly salary? I think most people can say like no, right? So yeah.
Yeah.
You will do it for a
Absolutely.
month. You will do it for a month, maybe because you want your GTX 3070, not for 5-6 months, and definitely not a year. So yeah,
So I just want to end this on fact like CDPR is one of the better companies out there. Definitely
yeah,
still
for
true.
sure.
At the end of the day, it's still a business though.
Yeah,
And if you think that CDPR would either want to maintain your goodwill over some profit, if it has to sacrifice that over that, it's not going to do that. It's a business, and it doesn't have to do that, right? Their interests are ultimately to make money, right?
Yeah.
And they have their own interests, and they will play to their interests, and that is completely fair for a business.
yeah.
But just understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, like they are interested in making a good product, unlike Crystal Dynamics. So
Right.
at least they're doing that.
Yeah, their approach is like we will make money
Yeah.
by making a good product, but
Yeah.
their end goal is the same. It's just that they have a better approach to it.
Yeah, they have a much better approach.
Right.
They're still taking care of their workers better than I imagine most studios. Because if you go to the Glasgow and those review sites, you'll see like they have like a score of something 3 out of 5. It's still good. It's not bad, but you can say like 6 out of 10 is not a great score to have, right, in a company.
It's a good.
Okay,
I want to know
it's a
how
good score.
other Polish companies are like. I want to know. Actually, we only hear about CDPR. I actually want to know how the development across the board in Poland is.
So
make-
that's kind of going to be hard because CDPR is the studio that kind of shepherded the entire Polish industry. So for random fact of the day, for those of you who don't know, Witcher 3 became like Witcher series was the series that made the Polish game industry, and Witcher 3
Right.
was so big that the Polish Prime Minister gave Barack Obama as a presidential gift. Right.
Right.
This is way back in 2015. I don't know how many of you knew this, but yeah, interesting fact of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that. So I imagine whichever other studios are, they're not very far away or ahead than CDPR. We'll probably see that maybe in 10 years, but not now. CDPR is still the leading studio in everything, even in terms of I think worker friendliness. So yeah, that's about it. Yeah. Anyway, going to this next topic: gambling and gaming in India. Very bad.
We can't. It's just like this is our modern. You remember in Acid Cast how microtransaction was a running gap in every podcast. I think they found it's like same shit, different eras.
Yeah. I'm a bit scared, slightly, because we have we are in a situation where everyone who follows the gaming industry, like in India, at least the metrics of it, will know that in the Indian gaming industry is valued at $1 billion. Now the thing is, we don't actually know that. We say $1 billion is because we count games such as Tin Patti, poker, and everything over there, like the apps, right?
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say we all three are gamers. Those are not games, right? That's
Yeah,
gambling.
true.
That's casino.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Paytm First Games is back, and it's just in Google Store. They were kicked.
The Dandi
Last
March
time-
Part 2.
Yeah. Apparently, I didn't actually see this, but apparently they described it as that their Dandi March or something. Do you know this? Have you read about
Right.
this?
I saw Rishi's comment on that.
Okay. Yeah, that's so weird. But I can't expect, given whatever is happening in India, God bless the ruling party. Yeah, I think it's not very hard to see, people pushing out statements like that. But it's just so stupid. I have nothing against the company, but gambling isn't gaming. Come on, guys. Like, no matter how much anyone tells me, I'm not gonna budge on that, at least.
And
Yeah.
fighting for a right of gambling is not equal to people fighting for independence, guys. No.
See, this is a major problem in our society that by games, people have a large variety of stuff which they take into games. Like things which are also not like games according to us, it falls under games for the
Oh, yeah.
previous generation at least.
Oh yeah, you
So,
mean our parents, like Blue Whale, which is not a game. I'm tired of explaining.
Yeah, absolutely. I got asked this question once. Like,
You got asked this question. I had my parents come to my mom come to Calcutta and ask me in person. It's like, you aren't playing Blue Whale, right? I'm just like, yeah, I am.
I went to like one during this time when this Blue Whale thing was going on. I visited multiple of my friends' house, and like their mom came up to me and like, I heard from my son that you're a great gamer. So what is this Blue Whale thing? Are you also playing it? I'm like, no.
I'm like, guys, please, we have enough shit going on in gaming industry. We don't
We have
need
Baldur's Gate 3, man. This Cyberpunk coming out. Yeah. No, but that's a small segue. But yeah, gambling isn't gaming. No one can convince me otherwise. And but given what the laws
It's a very good manipulation. I mean, I'm gonna give credit where it's due. They have manipulated the system enough to bypass laws where you couldn't have casinos. Where even in Goa, if you go, casinos were on the boats, right?
Yeah.
You
I
had
actually went to a casino boat.
You were not allowed to do it on the land, right? You had to go out of the land to actually go and gamble, right? And they have found a way to bring the casino to you,
In
right?
your phone.
Well, genius in its own way, and they manipulated the crowd to thinking this is something that people should fight for, and this is a patriotic stance, right? That Indian product should not be banned by some foreign authority. Us was it is crazy how this narrative has been developed, right? Like in a way, you have to admit, like, wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's not bad. I'm slightly impressed. It's scary, but I'm slightly impressed.
Gambling is not Indian. You are literally not on Indian soil, right? For that thing.
But
Oh God.
yeah, I just want to say, yeah, gambling is not gaming. Fuck that.
Fuck that. A resounding fuck you to anybody who's buying into this narrative.
See, there's the reason I'm scared is because the ruling party and the way money works is currently working in India and how everything is going on. I don't think there's going to be any actions taken for this, right? We don't see any hints of any action taken on casino apps anytime soon. There's no talks about it in the government. There's no talks about it amongst activists. There's nothing, and people are spending money. And apparently it's a $1 billion industry, so there's obviously money being spent as well. They're counting at that. And I can tell you that there's not $1 billion industry didn't go up there because people are playing on PC or consoles, or even mobile games are not making $1 billion industry. It's the gambling apps. But the silver lining is the basic consumers, the basic gamers, they realize people who are even playing PUBG Mobile, they do know that, something like Okay Rummy or Tinpatti or whatever is not games. They know what that is, which is, I think, some of them are using it, I am sure, but even the ones who are using it know that it's gambling, right? And I think that's the safer side of it. Other than the corporations, no one's actually fighting to keep these things
I
alive.
wish influencers for once got some skin and spoke up against this, but that's me expecting too much.
I think the awareness is too low because even though the thing is, we still don't know like what percentage of that 1 billion is gambling. Some people are saying it might be as high as 50%, right? And so that it's completely clouded. The entire metric is completely clouded. You're mixing it with something like Cyberpunk and something like Tinpatti, which is completely different things, right? And that's where you see these what should I say? It's just how do you say people can have skin? They don't know. Even I didn't know the full idea of how they're counting it, because I know for a fact that these days there's investment being made. I got to know that $1 billion is being counted in gambling. I knew it. I kind of had hints of it. But what I didn't also realize is because of that $1 billion market that being shoved into corporates and investors, the investors are investing. But where are they investing? They're not investing in studios that make the next Cyberpunk in India. They're not investing in studios that make the next Raji in India. They're investing in the studios that make Okay Rami too. Right. And that's where the problem is.
Because I do know, because again, I can't disclose things, but I do know companies where which are mostly in these types of games, and when you talk to them, like, yeah, we just got funded by this huge thing.
Yeah, it's common.
The ones developing games, let me just say games, struggling. They have to pay, they have to sell off certain properties and stuff like that. They don't get any of this.
Absolutely.
Right?
We know this from the Raji devs only, who had to mortgage their own flat to make the game a success. So yeah,
because the situation is very complicated, and I would actually, if somebody is actually doing a market study on this, I would be interested in actually going in depth. That is something I want to see.
As far as I know, there is you can't, because the figures are coming from investors, and the investors who are already have a stake in the gambling apps, they aren't going to disclose. Until the law says so, they aren't going to say this is gambling investment, this is gaming investment. So yeah, that's not changing.
And one more point, Aman, when you're talking about the investors, basically the investors also look into how the company is performing before they start investing on it as well, right?
Yeah.
So if you have to show them something, and when you're basically going to basic game development, when I say game, I mean the games we play, it's very hard to show something.
It's an artistic.
They will understand.
Yeah, it's an artistic medium. You can't it's like getting funding for your movie or something, right?
Especially if it's your first game that you're making, right? If it's like a first new game, and that's what most people are doing, right? When they're up and coming, they don't have a track record of success, right? Right?
So automatically, the investors basically investing in these companies, we can see why they're doing it, and I don't think they actually understand which of the apps can be categorized as games and not exactly like these Rami games and all.
I think they know very well. I think, and these investors are making money over there. Like they're making a lot of money. They know they don't care, right? And see, they're making money. Investors, like out of 10 investors, if you ask, like 9 of them are just care about making money. They don't care about making a product.
As
Right.
long as it is
absolutely.
legal,
That is
they will
correct.
continue it.
Yeah.
And when it's like gets illegal, they'll be like, "Oh, we didn't know
Yeah.
anything about it."
Sorry. Yeah,
That's
yeah. You will
yeah,
see the narrative change immediately once the laws come in, right? And they will be
yeah.
like, yeah, we want to support the next Raji.
Oh, shit! That was what was happening. Hell no, we were not aware of this. We withdraw. That's gonna happen. That's gonna happen.
Anyway,
That's correct.
I think we're running out of time for the day, so let's just move into the last topic. Again, this is a very short podcast. It's just like slightly over an hour. We'll just finish the next topic in the next 10 minutes, I guess. Which is, what games are we playing today? Or rather this week? I think Dragon can start. And then we'll go to it.
Well, I'm still sticking to Genshin because that game is promising updates,
Right.
and those are big updates, not
You're a
small
Valorant
ones.
player. You're like a pro global elite CS player who is in Valorant right now. What's your thoughts on the game for India?
India.
Yeah,
Okay.
India specifically because we know we have servers coming and everyone's saying that it'll blow
Yeah.
up. And we have like some of the streamers in India have like 5,000 to 10,000 people watching them when they play Valorant.
Right.
So,
So when
yeah.
it comes to competitive games like CS and Valorant, Indian servers are pretty much required because otherwise the difference of the ping system that is there for the registration of bullets and all, it's totally messed up. So
Mhm.
people who are on that region, for example, we are right now playing in the Singapore region or the Tokyo region.
Mhm.
So if if the pings are higher, people who are there in Singapore, their bullet registrations and even the ability to see other players a bit like even milliseconds faster than what we see is there, right? So they are getting an advantage which is not, you can say, working to our favor.
Mhm.
And though, as you just said, like Indian servers are coming, I don't think it's coming for Act 3, which is launching this month.
Mhm.
Because there has been a statement out by Riot that the Middle East servers are coming. They
Yeah.
have not mentioned anything about the Indian servers. We
Mhm.
know that the Indian servers are there in
Interesting
testing
phase, right?
phase.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are not sure about that. So like,
No, we are
though
sure.
we
We
hope
saw
that it
that. We
comes.
saw the servers, Indian servers. A lot of people
Yeah.
actually got
Out of
to
this.
accidentally test it as well.
Yeah. Exactly. So I'm not sure how long are they going to do that because I remember my days back when I played CS in a competitive way. The Indian servers took almost 2 years to finally come in
That's Valve time
from
for
the
you.
time. Yeah. So, um, but then again, like in India, it's very hard to get a stable ISP.
Mhm. Mhm.
Each and every ISP has their own downtime, which hurts these companies when they are uh, outsourcing their servers to, right?
Mhm.
And as we know, Riot is trying to get their own solution in India for the
Mhm.
servers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So the most
I'm not
interesting
sure.
thing is,
Yeah,
unlike Valve, Riot does have an office in India, like its own office.
yeah.
Why now?
Yeah, for a while now. Um, I think because of that, we will see the servers more stable than whatever we see in, say, CS:GO.
So
Because they have to live up to that international standard, right? They have to report to them, like because I'm sure
right.
Riot is checking Reddit every now and then, the international
Right,
HQ.
right, right.
Mm-hmm.
But there were few instances in CS which I think Riot should take something from the history which has happened before. Like even when Indian servers came in, we as the players were like the servers are too unreliable to be played in. So it's still better to play on the servers which are there in the Singapore region or Dubai region
Mm-hmm.
because of the issues the net providers gave Valve. So if Riot is doing something, coming up with a solution of their own, I understand that they have to rely on a ISP, but they should be basically looking into these things just to sort this out. because having servers on our own country and not play, like players not wanting to play in that servers is a very bad situation, I
Obviously,
would say.
obviously. I think maybe I'm just going by whatever Riot is, but I think Riot will have a better standard than Valve simply because Valve is a completely privately owned company and they tend to outsource a lot,
Right.
right? Which is what happened with the Indian servers for CS:GO as well. They are outsourced. I don't know who's handling the servers. I think Nodwin is, but right now the servers are stable-ish. But Riot,
Yeah,
I
right now
think,
it's
yeah,
okay-ish.
Riot, I think, will do a much better job in this case because I think the pressure is more, it's directly Riot employees and stuff. So if they kind of fuck up, they'll probably get scolded at in the next meeting. Right. So, yeah.
Right.
But
Because Riot is there's a bigger person looking onto them.
yeah. So that's not necessarily the case for the Valve stuff. So that's why I think like the servers are and to say this, I also think the servers are probably coming fast. I think because we got conflicting things. While the last update we got said Middle East servers, before that the community update we got in the Reddit page said the India servers are coming by November, right? So even if it doesn't come
Yeah, yeah.
immediately, we might probably get it by November or at least nothing else
Yeah,
by
I
December.
do
Right?
think like
Yeah.
I do think that in Act 3 immediately, like once the act launches, we might not get the servers, but
But
by
we'll get it
the
eventually
mid
by
of
end. Yeah.
November, mid of
Well,
November we are supposed to get it.
I think even taking every kind of testing into account, I think we'll get it by December one way or another. Because like I said, we already saw the test servers, everything is up. Yeah, all that. But do you think it will boom in India? Do you think it's the next big thing? Do you think it's PUBG?
I do, because the way how Riot basically played to the strengths of the community,
Mhm.
they basically made the game simple enough to be accepted by the players both on the side of CS, Rainbow Six, and PUBG. Because if you see a player like the game mechanics is mostly built on CS,
Mhm.
but there are elements which are there from these two other games as well, which is Rainbow
Oh,
Six and PUBG.
Overwatch also.
Oh,
Overwatch is there.
Yeah.
Overwatch is there. But why I did not speak about Overwatch is I feel India did not have that big of a community of Overwatch.
Right. Right, of course.
but you can see
Like,
the inspirations definitely in
Yeah.
between.
yeah. The concept of using the abilities and all, that is a direct nod to Overwatch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but still, like the initial gameplay for shooting, then movements, these are all taken from CS,
Mhm.
which is a concept with like not habituated to players like who come from the background of Rainbow Six and PUBG. Because when it came to Rainbow Six, people are used to peeking like ADS, and then they press buttons to peek left and right, and then they shoot. And the same goes for PUBG as well, because in the survival game you take cover and shoot. But coming to Valorant, do you see the ADS is there just so that people can be a little familiar to the whole shooting thing? But eventually they are learning the whole thing, how all the CS players played the game.
I think the
So
entire thing went above Udit's head with his racial expressions.
Yeah, you lost.
okay.
Yeah.
So
Go
this is a pro CS ex CS player speaking. So
Yeah.
nothing doing.
Yeah. Anyway, but
So
I think the boom is. I think if the boom will happen, I think the PC
yeah,
boom is already happening. There's more than enough people playing it on PC. But I think the main boom will happen when we see and if we see the rumored Valorant mobile coming in. That will be interesting.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
If I suck in Valorant, yeah, PC, I'll probably shift to more. And like install BlueStacks, get on use my mouse and keyboard, and like kick ass there. But yeah, what are you playing with it?
So going on mobile, I've been playing. I started playing Sky, which is a game I've been meaning to play for the longest time. It's from that game company, and they made Journey previously,
Okay.
and also and Genoa Chen, who I'm a huge fan of as a designer. So I think
Hi.
it takes place in the same world as a Journey, because
What's
the character sprites and everything is similar.
What's
Even
the
the
what's the
Sky,
name of the game? SK?
SKY,
And the
why
name of
that
the company?
that game company. That is the name of the company.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So again, aesthetics, just like Journey, it's a therapeutic kind of game. Whereas Journey, again, Journey was literally the hero's journey of Joseph Campbell put in a game format, right? It was a 3 hour experience that where they immediately show you this is the mountain and you have to go through that. It had no language, was hybrid, and you didn't realize that it was actually a co-op, and you didn't interact with people apart from certain signs, and that was such a great experience to discover. It was a PlayStation exclusive for a long time, but then it came to Epic, and this I think is diving down more on the co-op aspect, where you can play co-op with your friends or many people inside, and the concept is actually, you take a candle and you light up, and uh, you involve more people to slowly become part of your world. And it's a very strange game. I'm not gone very deep into this yet, but I think the concept is more about, just lighting candles and getting as many friends, and then it's just going further and solving with complete strangers. If you like games like, what was that, what was the game you were talking about?
Journey.
Yeah, but so this is right up the same alley, and obviously a game somebody would want to be playing in current times with your friends.
Oh, you mean like
Highly recommend.
Spiritfarer? You mean like Spiritfarer?
Yeah, like Spiritfarer, exactly.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Seems very similar vibes. Like calm, relaxing kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's on your phone. So yeah.
Yeah.
The way to invite people is a little weird. You have to get a QR code. You have to send it to them. You have to write the nickname which you want their character to be in your world. That's a little weird, but everything else is solid.
Okay. So yeah, I think that's I don't know. Wait, I have to say I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3 and everything else. But
I
Baldur's
want
Gate
to
3,
talk about this so much.
okay. Good and bad. Which one do you want to say? What do you want me to say?
Let's go with the bad first.
Okay, it's definitely an early access game, so don't buy it. Right? That's the first thing I can tell you. Don't buy it right now.
That is Aman for all the games till now.
No. There are early access games I have recommended, like Temtem, which is like, if you can't hold yourself back, go get it, but you will not get the full experience because obviously the game is not done, right?
Mm-hmm.
But not only is the game not done in Baldur's Gate 3, it's very unplayable in certain places, okay? I'm just saying. Okay. So I just loaded. Okay, let me just put it to you this way. I wanted to talk about this anyway in this discussion. It'll just take 5 minutes and then we'll end this. But Baldur's Gate 3, I started the game. Cinematics started. When the characters land, they land in like. You guys have used game developer engines, right? Unity, Unreal.
Oh,
the character stands like this.
Oh, they do the T-pose and then they land and then they get their animation. Oh, dear.
You click. Okay. There's another moment in the game where you kind of take companions, right? You like let them come with you, right? And you see them like you come with me, right? And then you can see another character, exactly that model, form behind you. And they are following, and the first character disappears. So it's basic. That's what I'm saying. It's definitely in early access. When I say that, I mean the game is like not like off. Like it's not. It plays like Marvel Avengers right now.
Right. But it is really when this time, right?
They're releasing it next year, I think. And they can even extend the early access. That's not a problem. Ryan has done that before with Divinity and Divinity Original Sin 2. I have played both of the games, Original Sin 1 and 2.
What I wanted to ask was, again, if you go to the character creation and stuff in Divinity, that is complex as hell, right?
Same.
Is it?
This is also complex, but this is, if you play Dungeons and Dragons, it's very much like that. I think I was showing a bit of it to Dragon last night.
I think 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. So you can't change every attribute. You can't change everything. There's certain things. So there's a rigidity that I haven't seen in any other RPG game. But if you're a Dungeons and Dragons player, you will instantly realize where that really come from, and that's from the framework that is Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. They completely followed that to heart, right? So even when characters level up, what you generally do is you select skills, right? In other RPG games, the character level up, and then you get a skill point, and then you select the skill point to get a whatever ability. In this game, your character just levels up. You have if you take a bard, if you take a bard, or if you take like a warlock, which is what I took my first playthrough. I played like 3 hours, 4 hours. Yeah, you just level up. You get to just select skills, stuff like that. It's very
but it scales on its own.
It scales on its own. There's a lot of it scales on its own. It plays very old school RPG game. It's different. It's different. The story
It is Dungeons and Dragons. It's you can't fault it for being true to its
it's not. It's if you're coming to this from something like a Dragon Age Inquisition or any traditional RPG game, like say, even if you're coming it from Cyberpunk and you go to Baldur, you will find it very different. This is RPG. Both games are RPGs, but they're both different RPGs, and there's a lot of dice roll in this game, right? So things like so I'll just there was this demo, so this is not a spoiler. There is this scene immediately, like within the first 30 minutes of the game, where you have the option of so there is this thing called an intellect devourer in the world of Baldur's Gate. What is an intellect devourer? You saw the slime things that go into your eye in Baldur's Gate cinematic, something like that, but they kind of possess your brain, right? Your husk, your body dies. So you find one of those things where the brain of a human being is calling out to you, and they're like, please free us, please. Let us go. And then you go to this body that's lying there and speaking, but its mouth is like just barely moving. It's like a zombified state. And then you realize the body isn't speaking, the brain is speaking. So you get the option to take out the brain with your hands, and it's very good, and it's very weird Baldur's Gate stuff, right? It's
the strength of go ahead. Sorry.
It's just very interesting. And then you take out the brain kind of sprouts legs, goes back in, and if you get the option to kind of so if when you're taking out the brain, you'll get like a dexterity check, right? Stuff like that. You have the option to smash the skull, or you have this option to take out the brain, depending on what your stats is. If you say I had like a 17 stat strength, 17 strength, right? So my dice roll has to be +4 to get a check. Right.
Exactly.
So if it gets less than 4, I fail in taking out that brain.
A check would be around 20. Roll 20 is a check, so that's 17 plus 4 is 21. That's what, right?
Stuff like that. Yeah, basically. Right. I am not that familiar with Dungeons and Dragons. I know just surface level stuff, but I'm telling you from what I'm aware. So there's checks, there's stuff like that. So yeah, dice rolls matter. Sometimes even with like you'll just get one. Okay, this is that kind of a game. If you get one, sorry. Maybe just reload your quick save or whatever. But this is a game of chances in a lot of ways. Same way how you would play the Dungeons and Dragons. There is co-op. I haven't tried the co-op, obviously. It's.
I mean, you have to try because co-op is when these games are the most fun.
Of course, like, I imagine but right now I played 3 hours. I have seen so much texture pop-ins. I've seen so much random T-poses. I've seen so much. You can, if you play the game, you'll know. It's definitely early access. Like you'll say the same thing.
In a weird way, though, the glitches and the fuck-ups are kind of what Dungeons and Dragons experience lives by. Anybody who plays Dungeons and Dragons knows that no session has completely followed the story from A to B, and the best sessions have been fuck up. So, the things that you're saying are part of the experience to me as somebody who loves the game. But jokes aside, what I really love about Dungeons and Dragons is just the sheer versatility in the way the games can unfold. The way you said, right? The enemy encounters, and you have to make a check, and you fuck up a check, and then you have to deal with the consequences of that, right? And continuously do. I remember my first session, there was this character that I grew very attached to. I made a tiefling bard,
Mm.
right, who with a horrible personality, right. And we had and we made a badass custom creation with 4 people, and in a very first encounter, we fucked up so bad the 3 of them died, and I barely got away with my life, and I took all of their loot. And I had to play with that as a consequence in the next game where I went to the bar, and I had to play that out as a traumatic experience. And my friends came as different characters, and we had to rebond as things, right?
Yeah. So this, I can see a lot of that. I can see a lot of the Dungeons and Dragons skill checkup. So if you're playing with friends, this is probably the most fun. But don't play it now. Like seriously, don't play it even if you're interested in Baldur's Gate. Unless you're if you're into game development and you want to see how a game is made at its earliest stages with all its glitches, all its everything laid bare to you, because even the cinematics don't load clearly. Sometimes the cinematics is running and then you see just a character just stop there, and you're wondering, I was wondering, did my computer hang or something? And then the cinematics again started running. Okay, sometimes the fire isn't like, there is fire in a CGI or cinematic kind of thing, but you can't see it, right? And there's things like people burning around, but you can just see the body. So
Also,
it's just
for many
funny. Yeah.
Also, for many people, you might be turned off. I saw most people complain like, "What the fuck is it? Point and click." I'm like, that's always been a Baldur's Gate thing. That was something that was even Dragon Age Origins, and they seem to be binding for that.
Not Dragon Age Origins. You mean Divinity Original Sin 2 and Sin 1?
Divinity Origin, even Dragon Age Origins had that point and
Was
click.
Dragon Age Origins a Dungeons and Dragons game?
No, but it was inspired, right? BioWare made Baldur's Gate 1 and 2.
Right.
And Dragon Age Origins was considered to be a spiritual successor to Baldur's Gate 2.
Right. So the good news is the game is solid, right? Whatever they're doing with the game, you can understand straight from the character creation. Oh my god.
No, I'm here.
Dark Udit.
I'm here. Darkness has taken over me, but I'm still very much here. This is my mind calling out to you, Aman.
No. So let me just continue. Then we can just end it. It's fine. We're just to end at the end. I'm sorry, Dragon. I know you had to go 25 minutes ago.
It's fine. It's fine.
I look very ominous. Right?
Baldur's Gate 3. You can, if you from the character creation itself to the first 5 minutes of the game. Hey, I can hear my echo. Where are your headphones?
It's not gonna change. My headphones is closer to my mic.
It block your ears will block it anyway. Yeah. From the first 5 minutes of the game,
You should have worn your headphones earlier.
No, I could hear my echo only now.
Lights came.
Yeah.
No, his lights came back
right.
instantly when
Anyway, let me just finish this. So from the character creation to the first 5 minutes of the game, to how the game introduces, to the characters, to how the game starts. So the graphics looks insane. Okay, if you've played Divinity Original Sin 2, it looks so much better. It looks so realistic. Like even you can see like character eyes and stuff, which wasn't that good in Original Sin 2. So yeah, it 1 year or 1.5 year, or whenever the game comes out down the line. Early access game from Larian Studios have delayed, but they're also along the lines of CDPR where they're like, it's coming when it's ready. But again, you can already kind of play it. So I wouldn't suggest, because like I said, lots of glitches, lots of T-poses, lots of stuff that will make you just maybe laugh. But if you're buying this and you're playing it in early access, you have only yourself to blame. Don't complain. This is literally early access, right? Yeah, you can't. This is not Marvel's Avengers. They're not. But the only thing is they're selling it at like full $60 price tag. So even in India, it's like $3,000. Which is a bit weird, but it's fine. Like it's a great game. They've sold like apparently they sold a lot even in early access. And they are like, listen guys, this was early access, we didn't mean to sell you so many copies. So they came out with that statement. I think
people have been craving for this.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There's 20 years of hype behind this game.
Yeah.
So it's great, guys. The overall story, if you're into RPG games, this is not like a world you have ever visited before. You literally go into hell, the world of hell in the first 5 minutes, which is what you see in the cinematics, right? The three Baldur's Gate kind of like how they. So those are not three Roman numerals. Those are actually hell towers or something like that, through which like tiefling commanders and stuff come from. I am not sure.
My favorite class.
I'm not sure what is going on because I'm not that into Baldur's Gate lore, but there's so much going on. There's like, oh my god, I'm definitely playing it early, even though it's early access, even though the glitches, I'm already invested into the story 3 hours in, so it's great. I love it.
Because the thing is, every RPG game that was made, right,
Yeah.
owes certain segment of it to Dungeons and Dragons in terms of gameplay, whether it comes to lore building or something like that. Dungeons and Dragons
Yeah.
is the go-to for many people, right? To see that experience fleshed out and revitalized in a proper experience, that's going to be a treat, man. That this is an event. This is an event, just like Cyberpunk 2077. This is just as.
Oh my god, I can't wait for the full game. It's going to be wonderful.
Yeah.
There are 3 acts, obviously, 3 worlds you can go in.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we will go into hell again sometime down the game. Because
I
that's
am being
how
a tiefling bard. I am a tiefling bard, so that's going to be my home.
I haven't actually seen a bard character, by the way, just saying. I don't want to mess your hopes up.
What?
I have seen. So there are like 6 classes. What I saw is Warlock, Wizard, I think Cleric. No, I forgot. There's a Warrior for sure. There's a Ranger something. And I haven't seen a Bard. I don't remember. But I'm guessing even if it's not here right now, they'll probably add it later on. So,
Have to.
yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of subclasses. So every character, every race has their own subrace. If you have a half elf, you can choose whether you're wood half elf, or higher half elf, or you could dark crow half elf. So yeah, fun stuff. Excellent game. Very good. I think that's it for me. I don't want to delay it anymore.
Apart from these two, like these 3 games that we spoke of, there are 2 more games which basically is trending this week, I think.
Which game?
One is Fall Guys Season 2.
Oh yeah, it's coming up.
I haven't actually tried it yet. I'll probably try it this week. Among Us has been trending for some time now. Among Us, we talked. Udit also talked about it last time. I think we need to play it together one day, or one of these days, hopefully. I want to go back and just kick Bombastro out by voting him, not killing him.
Right.
There's this clip. I'll probably attach that clip for the beginning of this video, even though he's not here. Where he like, he literally went like that. So I'm gonna find that clip and post it as the intro. But I think that's it. Yeah. Fall Guys, I'll play it this week and I'll probably talk about it this coming podcast, like the coming Sunday. This is coming out on Tuesday. So yeah. Anything else? No. Then I guess it's lunchtime for us. It's 3:00. Thanks for watching, guys. It was fun. Episode 8. Amazing new layout. Thank you to Dragon again for making the layout. That's fine. Take your medicine, Dragon. We're done anyway.
Not medicine.
What is
not
it?
medicine.
Is it chewing gum?
That's Prasad.
Oh, even better. Bless you, Dragon, for making the layout.
Yeah.
Plus 20 blessings.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. See you next week. See you. Yeah, next week. Yeah, beginning the Tuesday. So I guess next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.